Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alexandra 360. I am your host tonight, Alexandra Levine. Tonight is a very special show because tonight I dedicate this show to Hersh Goldberg-Polin, the 23-year-old American Israeli who was brutally murdered by Hamas just a few days ago. And those are the names of the 6 hostages. And their names are Ori Daniel, Eden Yerushalmi, Alexandra Lobanov, Almag Zarusi, Carmel Gat, and of course, Hersh Goldberg-Polin, the American Israeli, 23 years old. They all died defenseless in the hands of Hamas in Rafah, in the tunnels. They were all lined up and shot in the back of the head as IDF officers were on their way to rescue them. As you know, Hersh Goldberg-Polin, his family was all over the country traveling, begging for their son to come home. He was their only son. Hersh's parents have been the most vocal about bringing their son back. They spoke at the DNC convention. They met with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, President Trump, and Bibi Netanyahu when he came into the halls of Congress. But let us be clear tonight, and let me be clear to you, that he was kidnapped, he was tortured, and he was killed by Hamas. Now, in Judaism, we don't have autopsies. So we don't know exactly what happened with his body. But as you know, Hamas rapes people. They cut their organs off. They torture them to death. They did heinous things. And they're still doing heinous things today. We have 7 more Americans hostage under Hamas rule in Gaza. The IDF is doing everything they can to bring those hostages back. Again, that is Bibi Netanyahu's goal. Actually, he has 2 goals: to annihilate the enemy once and for all, and to bring all the hostages back. So if you think he's not listening, he is listening. And if you think he doesn't care, he does care. He knew about Hersh Goldberg-Polin. He met the families. He talked to the families. He said to Hersh's mother and father, "I will do everything in my power to bring him home." But Hamas knew it too. Hamas knew that this boy was valuable. They knew that his parents were begging and pleading to bring him home. And Hamas also knew that the IDF was on their way to rescue that young man and the 5 others that were murdered. And what did Hamas do? They made sure that Hersh Goldberg-Polin was brutally murdered, was killed before the IDF had a chance to rescue him. Now, these are very, very, very dangerous missions that the IDF has to go through. They rescued a 52-year-old Druze Muslim from the Gaza tunnels a few weeks ago. Very dangerous operation. But the IDF knew this was going to be a dangerous operation going into Rafah. But again, their mission was to bring back the hostages. And Hersh Goldberg-Polin's name was on their radar. They know his face. They knew his parents. And so did Hamas. And that's why they did what they did. Again, our hearts go out to the family, to all the families. I saw in real time live the funeral of Hersh Goldberg-Polin and how his mother said, "Hersh, you are finally, finally, finally free. Free of these monsters. Free of being tortured. Free of being maybe raped. Free of not having food." But she said, "Hersh, now I need you. I need your help from heaven. I need you to help my husband and I, your father, the rest of the family, be strong so we can survive." She says, "I know you're here, Hersh. I know. I feel you in my heart. I feel you in my soul. But now I have to think of you in a different way because I know now you're not coming home. But I also know you're in a better place. You're in a safer place. And I will love you all the days of my life, for the rest of my life. No parent wants to bury their child. It is the most horrible thing that a parent has to go through. For anyone who's ever had to go through that, whether they had to bury their child in war, whether their child died when they were giving birth, as a parent, it is so horrific. But as a parent, to know that your child died in the hands of terrorists is even more sad. And that's something that will be embedded in their heads forever. There's some critics that say that Hersh's parents shouldn't have been so vocal about their son missing. They should have shut their mouths. They should have just let Netanyahu and the IDF do their job, and they shouldn't have said anything. They shouldn't have, quote, made a spectacle about him being under Hamas rule. Then maybe if his mother wasn't so vocal, her son would be alive today. I disagree with those critics. What is a mother and father supposed to do? Sit and wait and wait and wait and wait for almost a year? She did what any mother would do. And she called for help and begged for help and ran for help to anyone she could. She went to DC. She talked to the Biden-Harris administration, talked to President Trump, met with Bibi Netanyahu, talked to Netanyahu, talked to the president of Israel, Herzog. That's what you do in those situations. There was nothing wrong with her speaking at the DNC about her son. There was nothing wrong with her traveling across the nation, asking people, begging people, saying, please God, please Hashem, bring back my son. And she was also surrounded by other victims' families that were also waiting for their children to come back home. And she's still going to continue to work with those families. Because if her son couldn't be rescued, then maybe she could rescue others. Her voice can make a difference. Her voice did make a difference. I'm glad she wasn't silent. I'm glad her husband wasn't silent. But now people are blaming Prime Minister Netanyahu for this, and President Trump, of all people. Why would you blame Prime Minister Netanyahu for doing his job? Again, his job was to bring back the hostages. His job is to annihilate the enemy. He's been doing that. He even made deals to bring hostages back. He's given aid to Gaza. But Hamas has taken that aid. That's the real truth. Netanyahu is not to blame for this. He didn't kill Hersh Goldberg-Polin. He didn't kill those 5 other hostages. He hasn't killed one hostage. And Prime Minister Netanyahu did not kill his own people, as some anti-Semites have stated, as some radicals have stated. He did not call for the IDF to stand down for 7 hours during October 7th. That was also a lie. Netanyahu is not Hamas. He doesn't kill his own people. He is responsible for every single citizen of Israel and now the hostages. And this weighs on him every single day. People don't have a clue or an idea what he is going through every day. His late brother, Yonatan, died in Entebbe trying to rescue hostages. So anytime an IDF soldier dies, he thinks of his brother. His parents have never smiled since the death of their oldest son, Yoni. Netanyahu was very close to his brother, Yonatan. So this is very intense for him. And to blame President Trump for this, if President Trump was in power, October 7th never would have happened. President Trump was the most pro-Israel president we've ever had in the history of our nation. He moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He recognized the Golan Heights. He said that the settlements that the Israelis are creating are legal, not illegal. They created Trump Heights in the Golan Heights. Netanyahu and President Trump worked to create the Abraham Accords, which Netanyahu said we need to call it the Abraham Alliance, and brought peace in the Middle East with Bahrain and Sudan and UAE and Morocco, and Saudi Arabia is next on the list. So how could this be President Trump's fault? How could this be Prime Minister Netanyahu's fault? Whose fault is it? Well, number one, it's the terrorist fault. And yes, and President Trump said this. Hostages were murdered due to a complete lack of American strength and leadership. He's right. He's 100% right. But who is to blame for this? Joe Biden blames Prime Minister Netanyahu. He said he didn't do enough. Oh, really? What did you do, Joe Biden? What did you do during all this? You sat on the beach for weeks with your wife. You've checked out. You stepped down as president. This was on your watch. The blood of this young man, Mr. Hersh Goldberg-Polin, is on your hands, and any other American hostage that gets murdered by Hamas. Kamala Harris, what have you done? Have you even been to Israel since you've been vice president? No. You've done nothing. Absolutely nothing. But look at what your stepdaughter's done. She's given money to Hamas, to UNRWA, which is responsible for October 7th. The Biden administration gave billions of dollars to Iran, which worked with Qatar to facilitate what happened on October 7th. This was a planned attack with the Iranians, with Qatar, to destroy 1,200 innocent lives. And remember, Barack Hussein Obama is controlling all of this, and he brought the Muslim Brotherhood to the White House under his administration. The Taliban was on the rise under his administration, as it is now under the Biden-Harris administration. We have Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigade on the rise, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah on the rise. Hezbollah is now starting fights with Israel. We have multiple terrorist organizations after Israel, and Iran is just waiting for the perfect moment to go after Israel. They're waiting for the election, November 5th. They're waiting to see if Kamala Harris will be the next president of the United States. They're waiting because we have a weak administration now. Because under Trump, Iran was weak. They were poor. They didn't have any money. They couldn't do any of this. But under a Biden-Harris administration, they're doing it all. And they've been plotting and planning this for years. This young man's life is on their hands, Biden and Harris's hands. And when Tim Walz was at a fair, he was asked by reporters, what do you think about the situation? What do you think about what happened with the 6 hostages? And he said, gotta go, folks, bye. Wouldn't even make a response. Wouldn't even say this was tragic. Wouldn't even say, we feel so bad for the family. Absolutely nothing. And you know why? Because he's in bed with all of these people, to all these terrorists. He's friends with Muslim clerics who are friends with the Muslim Brotherhood. He's friends with the Nation of Islam, with his friend Keith Ellison and Louis Farrakhan, who runs the whole entire thing. With his friend, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who's friends with Keith Ellison, who's a congresswoman in Minnesota, who Tim Walz supported and endorsed. Now she's running for re-election. They're all in bed together. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib in Michigan, a known anti-Semite, gets money from Hamas. They're all in bed together with Bernie Sanders, anti-Jew Jew, hashtag never a Jew, hashtag not my pure Jew, hashtag not a real Jew. Hates Israel, hates the Jewish people, supports Hamas. Disgusting, and he's a senator, a United States senator. What more does President Trump have to do to let you guys know that he is for the Jewish people and for Israel? What more does Prime Minister Netanyahu have to do to show you that he is doing everything he can to annihilate the enemy and bring these hostages back? But the American hostages are Biden and Harris's responsibility. They should be working every single day with Bibi Netanyahu to bring them back. They should have brought them back already. Why they doing their jobs? And people are actually going to vote for a Kamala Harris as president. It's going to be worse. Her rhetoric is the reason why 12 innocent children were murdered in a soccer field in the Druze community after she met with Netanyahu in America. Her rhetoric was disgusting. She called for a full ceasefire. She called for the removal of all IDF from Gaza. And she blamed the Israeli Defense Force and said that they're not providing humanitarian aid to Gaza, which we all know is a lie. It is Hamas that steals the aid. It is actually the Israelis that say to the innocent people in Gaza, or the people that get blown up by the Hamas, come to the hospitals. We'll take care of you. We'll fix you up. When Yasser Arafat was having problems, the Israelis actually reached out and said, come to our hospital. We'll take care of you. When Hosni Mubarak, the former president of Egypt, when he was suffering, the Israelis said, come to the hospital in Jerusalem. You can stay here. We'll take care of you. That's what the Israeli people do. They don't kill innocent civilians. When they see innocent civilians being injured, they want to help them. They want to fix them. They want to give them proper care. They're not animals. Netanyahu has tried to do deals with these terrorists, but you cannot do deals with terrorists. And he knows that more than ever. And the majority of the American people know it too. And the majority of the American people have had enough of what's going on. They've had enough of the brutality. They've had enough of these anti-Semites, because we have illegal Syrian and illegal Afghan refugees here in this country, and they're killing innocent Americans. And when they come for Jews, they come for Christians too. So stop standing on the side of evil. Stop blaming the good guys, and let's call out the bad guys and blame them, because they did this. Biden and Harris did this. They are the reason that Hersh Goldberg-Polin is dead today. Netanyahu and the IDF did everything they could to rescue that young man and bring him home. And that is the truth. And if President Trump was in the White House, again, October 7th never would have happened. But he would do everything he could to bring hostages back as well. And you know it. That's why this election is so important. Foreign policy is extremely important. It's on the ballot for a reason. When you go into that ballot box, you have to think of foreign policy, economy, your children, your family, everything. Everything is on the line in this election. And they always say, this is the most important election. This is the most important election. This one, this year, 2024, is the most important election of our lives. If we get this wrong, if we vote the wrong person in, if the wrong person gets in, we're all going to have to leave the country. As a Jewish woman, I will have to leave the country. Please, everybody, please. I encourage you to do the right thing here. I believe in the American people. I know you all are smart. I believe you'll do the right thing. Again, I'm going to pound the message until November 5th. Jewish people, Jewish Democrats, Jewish independents, you must hashtag to the Democrat Party. You must vote for President Trump. There is no other choice. We have no choice. We have no other choice except Donald Trump. The choice is clear. Stop calling for Netanyahu to resign. Stop calling him the bad guy. Stop attacking President Trump and calling him an anti-Semite, because he's not, and a Hitler, because he's not. Jewish Americans know that under President Trump, we didn't have this crap. We didn't have Gaza encampments on college campuses. But we have a choice. We have two choices. But we as Jewish people only have one choice, and that's Donald Trump. And let me tell you something. If the elections were held today in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu would win. He has the majority. So stop calling for his resignation. And ICC, stop trying to put him in jail. Amal Clooney, stop trying to put him in jail. It's enough already. People are saying we need to go into an inquiry right now. He's in the middle of war. No commission inquiries until after the war. We can talk about afterwards. Any missteps that were taken. What could have been done. But not now while we're in war. There are still hostages to be released and rescued. And removed from terror. Jewish people, it is time to come together. It is time to come together. Israelis especially, it's time to come together. No more attacking Netanyahu. Too many lives are being lost. We need to come together here. We need to support one another. We need to fight together to combat this. And we all need to vote the right way and vote for Donald Trump. There's so much at stake. So much at stake. Hersh, even though I never met you, you are like a brother to me. You are like the son I've never had. And if I have a son, I hope to name my son after you. You were a warrior. You not only fought for America, but you fought for the Israelis. And you were a good young man. You were good to your mother and father, to your sister, to your family. I know that your life was short on this earth, but you will never, ever be forgotten. And your name will live on forever in all of our hearts and in all of our minds and in all of our souls. And we'll be right back after the break.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine, the host of Alexandra 360. Again, we are dedicating my show tonight to Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Now, again, we're discussing anti-Semitism all over the country and the world. For those of you who don't know my background, again, I'm 100% Jewish. I love my religion. I love being Jewish. But I also have history in Israel as well. I'm a direct descendant of a prime minister of Israel, Moshe Sharet, who was the second prime minister of Israel and the first foreign minister of Israel, is my relative. He was born in Belarus, and then his family immigrated to Israel. Now, his name in Russian was actually Shartak, but when his family moved to Israel, it changed from Shartak to Sharet, and he worked beside David Ben-Gurion. On my mother's side, through marriage, I am related to the first mayor of Tiberias. So my family literally built Israel, and the Israeli government is something that I'm very learned on because my family was involved in the Israeli government. My family was the Israeli government. But I talked to my relatives. And being a prime minister of Israel is one of the hardest jobs. It's like being president of the United States of America. You have to not only support the Jewish people in your country of Israel, but you're also supporting the Christians, the Arab Israelis, the Muslims, the Druze. You have three different religions that are living amongst each other in Israel. And you also have to heavily vet anybody that wants to obtain Israeli citizenship. It's a very big job. And also, the country of Israel is very small. It's only the size of New Jersey, just a little bit smaller. And you have all these Arab nations surrounding you. And again, you have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have all of these different, you're surrounded by Islamic Jihad. Iran is not too far away. You have Turkey. You have all these countries. Some like you, some don't like you. But what's going on right now is the terrorist organizations are ruling. They're gaining power. This didn't happen under President Trump. It started under Obama. Obama opened the vacuum to the Arab Spring by bringing in the Muslim Brotherhood, opened up the vacuum from Egypt. And then it just kept going and going and going and going and going. And now we have, for the first time, Iran is on the move to attack Israel. Do we really want a Kamala Harris, Tim Walz administration when that happens? The point is, we don't want that to happen. The only person that can stop that from happening is Donald Trump. So that's why it's really, really important, again, like I said in my earlier segment, to make sure that we have the right people in power. Because if not, we're going to get a World War III in this country, which is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want. And Obama wants it too, and so does George Soros. So earlier in the segment, we talked about international issues. Now I'm going to hit it back to domestic issues, what's happening here at home. So the University of Maryland, which is my mother and my aunt's alma mater, and I've sung there many times, they're having a pro-Hamas protest with SJP, Student Justice for Palestine, which is run and controlled and bought and paid for by George Soros. They're celebrating the anniversary of October 7th. They're actually celebrating this. And that's it right there. Anti-Israel group at University of Maryland reserves the quad for anniversary of Hamas invasion. So this group, SJP, is celebrating the genocide of Jews. They're celebrating the 1,200 innocent people that died. They're celebrating the death of Hersh Goldberg-Polin. Is that something that you want to participate in? Is that something that should happen? Is that something that should be happening? As you know, colleges have just started their semester. And guess what? The pro-Hamas protests are on the rise everywhere. Cornell had a building that was vandalized on the first day of school by these pro-Hamas idiots. My alma mater, NYU, is extremely dangerous now for Jews. We used to call it NY Jew. Brandeis, they're getting pro-Hamas crap thrown at them. Georgetown GW, back in the news. American University, back in the news. MIT, hello. Columbia University, they're all back in the news. Harvard, they're all back in the news. Because nothing was ever done in the beginning. These presidents and these deans, they resigned. They were never kicked out. They were never fired, which means that they're technically still teachers at the school. They're still getting paid. They're still spewing out their crap. They're still allowing this freedom of speech on their campus, which is really hate speech. When you call for the genocide of Jews, that's hate speech. These types of protests should not be allowed. But the fact that the University of Maryland originally agreed to commemorating and basically celebrating the death of 1,200 innocent people on October 7th is disgusting. If I was a parent and I had my child go to that school, I'd pull my child out. I demand a refund. Any big donor from that university, I beg you, don't give them any more money. My mother is not giving any more money to her school. Neither is my aunt. Neither is a lot of alumni that I've talked to. And there's a lot of Jewish kids that go to the University of Maryland. I'm actually finding that the dean and the presidents are not accepting Jewish students at the University of Maryland anymore. You put that you're Jewish on your application, you don't get accepted. I asked the Jewish fraternities and the Jewish sororities to do something about this, to combat this. I asked the Jewish billionaires such as Robert Kraft and Bernie Marcus to put their monies in to combat this, and also to file lawsuits against this. This is Title IX all the way. This is an executive order that President Trump made. They're going against President Trump's executive order that no one should ever defame or disgrace or discriminate against a religion or an organization. This is disgusting. They're going against an executive order from the President of the United States. Where's the Jewish attorneys to combat this? Where's the big, what we call in Yiddish, the big machers, the big Jewish attorneys in D.C. to say enough is enough. Where's AIPAC in all this? Where's the lawyers that run the Republican Jewish Coalition, that run the Anti-Defamation League? Where's the ADL on all of this? Where are they? They are silent. Where's the priests? Where's the Christian organizations? Why aren't they combating this? Again, this is not freedom of speech. But I commend we the people, because myself and others, we signed petitions, we sent letters to the dean and the president of the University of Maryland, we contacted the rabbi at the University of Maryland, Hillel, and we said, enough is enough, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. But this is what they did, and so but this is what they did. This was their this is how they tried to smooth things over. This is what they did. They tried to smooth things over. So they said, thank you so much for your letters. Thank you so much for your calls. We had a meeting. We all agreed that on October 7th, we're only going to have university-sponsored events on October 7th, which means they're not going to have any SJP crap on October 7th. But this is where the but comes in. But after October 7th, on October 8th, any other outside group that wanted to do an event, a freedom of speech event, is allowed to have their event. So SJP, they can't have their pro-Hamas protest commemorating and celebrating the death of the 1,200 innocent people. They're going to do it the day after. So it's not so bad. What the heck? This should be October 7th Remembrance Week. They should not be celebrating the deaths of innocent lives. We should be memorializing them. We should be honoring them. The fact that the SJP wants to celebrate celebrate Hamas for killing innocent lives is disgusting. They call these people martyrs. They're so happy that Hamas murdered and raped and burned innocent Jewish people. And some of them weren't even Jewish. They were non-Jews. They were murdered as well. People from different countries. This is disgusting. It's disgusting that the University of Maryland would still allow this event to happen. Doesn't matter if it's October 6th, October 7th, October 8th, it's disgusting. Again, think of Hersh Goldberg-Polin's family. But they don't care because they're getting paid. They're getting paid by these terrorist organizations. The terrorist organizations are feeding these universities money. They have people that aren't even students of the school. They're not even students of the school that are pro-Hamas protesters. They have former Hamas militants. Their parents are former Hamas militants. Their children are going to these colleges and universities. And guess what? They've already indoctrinated their children. They've already taught their children to hate Jews the minute that they're born. And anybody that isn't like them. That's what they teach you in all these schools. That's what Bibi Netanyahu's talked about for years. That's why he wants to change the education system. That's why I have been a huge advocate of fully mandating Holocaust and Israel education in all 50 states. And I'm working on it in Maryland. I worked on a bill it was a bipartisan bill in Frederick County, and it was shut down. It was shut down. Even when the Democrat state senator put in concessions, it was still shut down. But I removed CARE from the Anti-Hate Commission in Maryland permanently. I beat CARE. And I will continue to beat them. And I'm going to beat this. Now, I called the University of Maryland today and their Hillel, and they didn't pick up. Maybe because it was the day after Labor Day. I don't know. Maybe because they've had a plethora of phone calls. But this is disgusting. This is completely, completely disgusting. Why would the University of Maryland think it's okay? Think it's okay to still have this event that celebrates the death of innocent lives. And this guy, Daryl Pellion, you can email him at the University of Maryland. Daryl Pellion said only university-sponsored events that promote reflection will be on October 7th. But after October 7th, everything else will resume. 10% of people that live in Montgomery County are Jewish. Again, I'm going to say it again. To the Jewish people that live in Montgomery County, Maryland, and in Maryland in general, don't vote for Kamala Harris. Vote for Donald Trump. Don't vote for Jamie Raskin. He's an anti-Jew Jew. Jewish people had voted for Senator Chris Van Hollen. He hates you. He gets money from J Street, which is an anti-Semitic group. These are people that hate you. These are people that don't have your back. Anybody who's running for office that stands with care, that brought in illegal Syrian, Afghan refugees and illegal Syrian refugees into Montgomery County, which former elected officials have done, don't vote for them. They're the cause of the problem. I have a place in Montgomery County. My grocery store, my neighborhood used to be so safe. It's not. There's shootings all the time. My friend Seth, who's on the conservative corner every Sunday night at 7 p.m. He lives in Maryland. He can tell you. It's horrific over there. It's getting really bad. He's Jewish. He lives in Frederick County. It's not as safe as it used to be. The areas are changing. They're changing for the worst. And it's not just in liberal states, it's everywhere. I'm in Florida too. I'm permanent resident of the state of Florida. I see this group called the Goyim Defense League, which is an anti-Semitic group based in Florida. It's sick and it's sad. That's why we have to do our part. We have to stand our ground and make sure that these groups don't get the best of us and that they don't continue to grow. We have the money and the power to combat this. The Jewish billionaires and ADL and AIPAC, they have the money to combat this. The Jewish attorneys have the money to sue. Title IX all the way. You sue them. You take their money away from them. That's how you get them to shut up. They don't have any money. They don't have a university anymore. You have to hit them where it hurts. Hit them in the purse, as my mother said. Hit them where it hurts. Don't allow SJP and these anti-Semitic groups to control the narrative. And we'll be right back after the break.
Military use when they need unlimited power during critical missions. Civilians like you can now get their hands on the exact same technology within 24 hours for pennies on the dollar. Folks, as a former infantry soldier, I can tell you this is the best and cheapest way to get reliable, unlimited energy. And no, I'm not talking about regular generators or the expensive solar panels. You don't have to be an electrician to do it. There's no maintenance needed. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And the best part, you won't need to rely on the power grid anymore. Click below now and hit play.
Hi, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra 360. We are back. I had the pleasure this past Labor Day weekend of going to see the new Reagan movie starring Dennis Quaid. There was actually a lot of Republicans that were starring in that movie, specifically Kevin Sorbo, who's a known actor, very pro-Trump, very conservative, hardcore Christian man, but very true to faith. And it was just, in my opinion, and please, for my viewers, if you saw the movie, there it is. Please comment on it on the comments below. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. They literally commenced and put together President Reagan's entire life in 2.5 hours. And I felt, in my opinion, that Dennis Quaid did a phenomenal job portraying President Reagan. It's really hard to portray President Reagan, but in my opinion, I felt that he sounded just like him and his mannerisms were very similar to him. And what I got out of the movie is the messaging. You know, they focused really about socialism and communism versus capitalism and how President Reagan was so anti-communist and so pro-capitalist. And again, that's a foreshadow to what's going on in present time, because we're dealing right now with a person, Kamala Harris, who is a Marxist communist socialist that believes in Marxist communist socialist ideals, and versus President Trump, who we know is a huge capitalist. He believes in America first. He believes in the Constitution. He believes in freedoms, real freedoms, not the freedoms that Kamala Harris is talking about. He believes in limited government. He believes that he believes that in lower taxes and that you have money in your pocket, that you are able, that everybody has the opportunity to be successful, and that government doesn't control you. Government doesn't control your health care. I mean, again, it's day and night, and we can all admit that things were better under President Trump. I know in my life, in my job, in my career, things were much better. Things were much better, and I know that under a Kamala Harris, Tim Walz administration, things are going to be much worse than they are today. I mean, as a Jewish person, under a Kamala Harris administration, I will have to leave the country. I said it last week. If God forbid that woman wins, which I wholeheartedly believe she will not win, but if God forbid she wins, my family and I have already made arrangements to leave the country. We've already thought of countries to move to where we as Jews can live freely and practice our religion freely. But it's a very scary situation if Kamala Harris, God forbid, becomes the president. That's why we as Americans have to do everything we can to make sure that she doesn't get in. And for the record, American Israelis, they have dual citizenship. They vote in our elections. They vote 92% for Trump. They vote 96% for Trump. They're going to vote 96% for Trump again. I talk to them all the time. The American Israeli Jews can't understand why Jewish Americans continuously vote Democrat. They just don't get it. And it's like, you know, we don't want to have an October 7th in this country to wake the Jewish Americans up. But if Kamala Harris gets in, we will have an October 7th in this country. That's why, again, Jewish Americans, I'm going to beg and I'm going to plead with you, Jewish Democrats, Jewish independents, I'm going to beg and plead with you till November 5th to please, for the love of God, vote for President Trump. Please, please. And just, again, you have to look at everything. And you know, I'm not a one issue voter. Some people are, but Israel is very important to me, and who our commander in chief is and who stands with our biggest ally, Israel, is very important to me. We all saw Biden and Harris snub Prime Minister Netanyahu when he came here and spoke in the halls of Congress. And the argument is, well, they saw them the next day. You totally missed the point. The whole point was him coming to the halls of Congress. This was the fourth time that he spoke in the halls of Congress, which was historic. Kamala Harris is the president of the Senate. She should have been there. Biden is supposedly, you know, the president of the United States. He's supposed to be there. It's disgusting that they both were not there. It's disgusting that they both weren't there to welcome him on the tarmac. Actually, the heads of leadership weren't there, or excuse me, the heads of the cabinet weren't there to meet him at the tarmac, such as Secretary of State Blinken and Secretary of Defense. I mean, the main secretary cabinets were not there to meet and greet the Prime Minister of Israel, which is disgusting. So what I want to talk about a little bit is the parallels between President Trump and President Reagan. They both believe in peace through strength. President Reagan actually came up with the concept, peace through strength. And we see that President Trump has actually continued with that concept from 2016 on. They both believed in cutting taxes. They both did cut taxes. As you know, the Trump tax cut is coming to an end December 2025. That's why it's very important, again, that President Trump goes back into that White House so that the Trump tax cuts extend, because if Kamala Harris gets in there, she's going to cut them. They both hate communism. They both hate socialism. They both hate Marxism. They both were shot. And I don't want to give away, but you have to watch the beginning of the movie, because it goes right into something historic that happened with President Reagan. So you guys, you know, whoever hasn't seen the movie, go and see the movie, because you'll understand what I'm talking about. And President Reagan and President Trump, they both believe in the will of the people. They both believe in the people. They believe in their constituents. President Trump always says, we are in this together. We are doing this together. It's not I, it is we. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, it's always I. She's always saying, let me be clear. I. It's never about we. It's never about us. President Trump, every time you go to his rallies, you feel like you're his best friend. You feel like you've known him for 20 years. You feel like he's talking directly to you, not above you, not below you. He doesn't care what your social stature is. He doesn't care how much money you make. You are his friend. You are his buddy. He is venting to you about his day. He's venting to you about his life. You are on the same plane level with him. That's how he is, and he's good to everyone. He will stop his rally if a woman or a man is fainting. That is who he is. I've seen it in real time. There was a woman next to me. She fainted. They stopped the rally. He actually, said in his microphone, can somebody, please get her some water. Take your time. Take your time. We got all the time in the world. That's President Trump. That's the type of man that he is. But let's look at Kamala Harris's radical positions. And we have that clip. There you go. And I'm going to read it out. So these are her real radical positions. As we know, Ms. Harris keeps flip-flopping on all of her issues. She believes in eliminating fracking. She believes in open borders. She believes in decriminalizing illegal immigration. She believes in free healthcare for illegal immigrants. And I'm in the healthcare profession, so I will never in my life ever give healthcare to illegals. First of all, that is illegal and I could lose my licenses. She believes in student loan cancellation. She believes in eliminating private healthcare, which of course, as a healthcare professional myself, that would kill my industry because I provide private healthcare to people. And most people want their own healthcare. They don't want healthcare from the government. They want their own private healthcare because everybody has their own independent needs. She believes in infanticide. She opposes school choice. She opposes Title IX, which we talked about. That's why we have all these pro-Hamas protesters happening all over the schools, because Kamala Harris and Tim Walz oppose Title IX. She calls for the defending of the police. Even though she's got Secret Service that protects her, even though she has police protection that protects her, she calls for the defunding of them. She calls to dismantle ICE, which again, that has to do with the border. That's why our border is wide open, because she doesn't want ICE or the Border Patrol to do their jobs. She supports sanctuary cities. Well, when you have sanctuary cities, that's when you have the rise of MS-13 gang members. That's when you have the rise of illegals in your cities and in your states. That's why we have all these illegal immigrants that are killing innocent people, like Rachel Morin from Maryland was murdered, and Lincoln Riley and many others. She believes in a nationwide gun registration. Actually, she believes in a gun ban, and she opposes parental rights, which means that if you are a 3-year-old, let's say you're a girl, you're a 3-year-old girl, and you want to become a boy, you can say to your doctor as a 3-year-old, I want to become a boy, and you don't need parental consent. And actually, Governor Walz signed an executive order that states that children can have gender reaffirming surgery without parental consent. And he also put tampons in the boys' bathroom, and that's why his name is Tampon Tim. Walz, Mr. Walz, let's talk about him. He also has stolen valor. He's lied about his DUI, and he falsely claimed to have carried a gun in combat despite never serving in combat. What the heck? Oh, and the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, who Seth Eisenberg knows really well, he just recently lied. Well, actually, he lied when he ran for governor. We all knew this, but it was ignored. He said he got a Bronze Star, and it turned out he didn't get a Bronze Star. He lied on his White House application. That's the governor of Maryland, everybody. The up-and-coming young Obama. He was put in place by Barack Hussein Obama, George Soros, Oprah Winfrey, the former governor, and many others, many rhinos were involved in putting that man in power. And Maryland is a mess because of it. And Maryland, poor Maryland, has a horrible mayor, Brandon Scott, in Baltimore City, who unfortunately will get reelected. And Baltimore City is so crime-ridden that people are leaving the city. Unfortunately, Baltimore County is becoming Baltimore City. And it's really sad. It's really very sad. But this is what we got, folks. These are our options. Do you want a president that eliminates fracking, that believes in an open border, that believes in giving amnesty to illegals, that wants to dismantle ICE, that supports sanctuary cities, that wants to take your guns away, that opposes parental rights, that opposes school choice, that believes in total government control, that's a Marxist, communist, socialist? Do you want, there you go, that's her title, communism. Or communism. Do you want a vice president that has stolen valor, lied about his DUI, falsely claimed to have carried a gun in combat despite never serving in combat? Now, J.D. Walz actually served in combat. He served. That's a slap in the face to him. My governor, Ron DeSantis, served. Seth Eisenberg was in the Navy. Anybody who served. This is horrible. Call these people out. Don't elect them. Call them out. Sue the hell out of them. Call them traitors. Try them for treason. I mean, this is serious stuff. Lock them up. This is serious stuff. These people are dangerous. And you know what? Once you get them in, you can't get them out. Once you get these people on the local level, because remember, Kamala Harris started as a district attorney. Once you get these people on the local level, they just go up. They just go up. Wes Moore, he's the governor as a state position. Now he may want to be president one day. That's how they start. Johnny Oshevsky, he's probably going to be the next congressman in CD2. That's how they get started. That's how they get started. You put them in there and you just ignore. You ignore their records. You ignore their bad behavior. Nobody's saying that nobody's calling out Kamala for flip-flopping on her issues. But she's been flip-flopping. She said on CNN, she said, I don't support, she said, I don't believe in eliminating fracking in 2020. As vice president, I didn't eliminate fracking. As president, I won't eliminate fracking. It's all a lie. It's all words. It's all words. She wrote a letter condemning Hamas. Really? Really? Then why did you tell the IDF to completely remove yourself from Gaza? Why did you tell the IDF that they're not doing enough? Why did you lie and say that they're not giving aid to Gaza when you know that Hamas is stealing the aid? Why did Joe Biden revoke the executive order that President Trump put in place in July 2020? Why did he revoke it in May 2021? Which now allows these pro-Hamas idiots to burn American flags and put up Palestinian flags in Union Square, to vandalize. Yep, there you go. That's what you're going to get. Meet your new neighbors if Kamala wins. That's right. That is correct. That's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did. Joe Biden revoked the executive order that President Trump put in. So now you can burn American flags and put up Palestinian flags. You can vandalize statues. You can desecrate monuments now. And no repercussions. It's disgusting. It's really sad. It's really sad. We the people need to stand up and rise up. We can't be afraid. We can't be afraid. And we can't say, well, that person, because their person's Jewish, they're going to vote Democrat anyway, and just write them off. No, we're voters too. We vote. The reason I became a Republican is because people that were running for office and Republican elected officials came to my synagogue and they talked to me. They listened to everything I had to say and I listened to what they had to say. Democrat elected officials, they came for 10 minutes after the service. They just came for the owning Shabbat, for the dessert, and left. Didn't talk, waved, left. I respected Republican elected officials that would come from the beginning of the service to the end and stayed for the service and weren't there for votes, but were actually there to talk to the people. And that's what President Trump does. He walks into Chick-fil-A. He walks into any restaurant, any police department, fire department, and he's not there for 5 minutes. He's there for hours. That's what I want out of an elected official, out of a president. Someone who gives a crap about me. Someone who doesn't come in for 5 minutes and leaves, or comes at the end of a service and says, oh, I was here, but the service is over. I don't want a president that's coming in for photo ops like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are doing. They walk into drugstores. They walk into gas stations, a Sheetz or a Wawa for photo ops. And they do double takes. They bring a whole camera with them. Or they have to, play out their endorsements on film. Like it's a call out. Okay, we're doing the filming now. Okay, Barack Obama, call Kamala Harris, endorse her. It's disgusting. She's so fake. The Democrats are so fake. But Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are the fakest of all. So send these fake people home. Put in President Trump. Do everything you can. Everything you can. I will be working in Pennsylvania for the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign needs people in states that he needs to win and can win. Pennsylvania is a big state, and he needs to win it to win the presidency. I'm also working with former ambassador to Israel, David Friedman. I'm a delegate for the One Jewish State. We're actually recruiting delegates right now until this Friday. If you're interested, please let me know. You can contact me, Alexandra Levine. But it's very important that we have the right people in office. But it's also very, very important that we just get rid of the noise and the propaganda. And again, combat the bad guys. Call them out. Again, Bibi Netanyahu and President Trump are not to blame for the death of Hersh Goldberg-Polin. It is the current administration. It is Hamas. It's Barack Hussein Obama. It's George Soros. It's all these anti-Jew Jews. That's right. That's right. Again, we say their names and honor them. Ori Danino, Eden Yerushalmi, Alexandra Labanov, Alnag Zarusi, Carmel Gatz, and of course, Hersh Goldberg-Polin, the American Israeli, the 23-year-old. I do want to end my show on something a little bit different tonight. When Jewish people die, we sing something called the Mourner's Kaddish. It's actually not it's not a prayer of death. It's a prayer of memorialization. We say this prayer for at least, well, the parents stand up for at least a year, and we say this prayer to memorialize. But I know his parents and myself will be standing up and saying this prayer for him forever. And right now, his parents are setting something called Shiva, which is for 7 days, where the parents are being visited by the family and people from probably across the country and the world. And again, our hearts go out to the Goldberg-Polin family and all of these families. I saw all of their funerals live. It was so heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching and heartbreaking and gut-wrenching. And I have family that live in Israel currently, and I talk to them every day. I have friends that currently serve in the IDF. I talk to them every day. To get a call from my friends that serve in the IDF is a blessing to me. I thank God every day that I hear from them because I know that they're still alive. I have friends that own businesses in Israel, and it's been very tough over there for them. But the Israeli people are strong people, and we as Americans need to be strong. And we need to combat this. So I'm going to end my show with singing the last line of Mourner's Kaddish, which is Oseh Shalom. If you know it, please sing it with me. If not, just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Oseh Shalom bimramav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, Ve'yakol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. We love you, Hersh Goldberg-Polin. We will always love you. We will never forget you. You will be in our hearts forever. Thank you so much. This is Alexandra Levine with Alexandra 360. Please like and subscribe. Please follow us at The Patriots Prayer. Please go on Rumble at The Patriots Prayer, X at The Patriots Prayer, YouTube at The Patriots Prayer. You can always follow me on X at Alexandra Levi 20, at Alexandra Levine on Facebook. And thank you guys so much again. And the reason you listen and the reason you watch is you are no idiots.